Is a senior policy counsel at the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU, a non-profit human rights organisation, and she joins us from Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us, Ms. Leventoff, on the programme. Forcing TikTok to sell its stake with a sort of a threat of a ban will not please 170 million users in the US. So such an impact has sort of far-reaching consequences for sort of wannabe music stars, influencer economies, as well as a challenge to sort of Meta and Google for content as well, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Half of the country uses TikTok for a variety of activities. For some, it's their entire livelihood. For others, it's how they access their news. It's the sole way they access news, or how they get entertainment. I mean, this is something that's used for protected speech activities across the country. Well, the people are going to be mad.
Yeah, the ban hasn't happened yet, but I mean, how easy is it going to be to find a buyer for TikTok?
Honestly, in the time allotted, I think it's going to be difficult. This bill gives 6 months to find a new buyer for TikTok and for that sale to go through.
I think, on a slightly humorous note, for a fossil like me, TikTok is neither here or there, but it's the demographic globally, isn't it? It's for young people. I mean, could there be a backlash from sort of American youth on this particular issue? It seems so, according to those politicians.
You said it earlier in the show, people that use the app have already flooded Congress with calls not to ban it. I mean, this is something, it's not just like kids that use this app, it's adults as well. It's people of voting age. Voters care about this issue, and they are going to contact Congress about it.
I mean, there is a serious side to all of this, and that's the US Constitution could be invoked, couldn't it, over the right to free expression. I mean, it's a legal fight that could perhaps go to the Supreme Court, potentially.
I think that this bill has very clear First Amendment implications. In the US, we have the right to speak out and to gather information freely. And this bill, by banning TikTok, would violate that right for the 170 million people in the country who use TikTok. I think courts have been clear on this already. A district court found that when Montana tried to ban TikTok, it was a violation of the First Amendment. I don't see why this case would be any different.
I mean, the US authorities are very clear that they believe that the app could, or the information gathered by the app could be used by the Chinese because of the connection between the company and its hosts as such. I mean, how justifiable and fair is that assumption, considering, I suppose, American government departments are banned to have TikTok downloaded on their systems in any shape or form, on a laptop, on a government phone, as an example?
I can't speak to that, but what I can speak to is that even if there is a national security threat here, the First Amendment says that Congress can't ban any more speech than is necessary to mitigate that threat. And this loops in way more speech than is actually required. And I think it's going to be an ineffective way to protect the data of US citizens, because the reality is that China can get data from other companies and in other ways, right? And so if we're banning just TikTok, we're not solving the problem. If Congress really wanted to protect our data, they would do a federal privacy bill.
Well, it's interesting to see what will happen. I'm sure we'll come back to you for more analysis when we get an answer one way or another. Jenna Leventoff, thanks so much for joining us from Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much for having me.